Hey, it's United in Green. You got Mike again here. We're winding down this season, but this seems like the perfect time to get some really, really good interviews in. Folks that we've threatened to have on the podcast in the past and never gotten. Um, but we'll get to our special guest in a minute. We're going to introduce our guy. We don't have the returning champion here, so I was going to call him the returning champion, except he's wearing a stupid looking hat. Um, but apparently, this is a baseball podcast now. Sam Minton, how you doing?
I'm doing great. I mean, 27 rings, bro. So, doing great. Really happy to be here, fresh off getting to see the lovely man that is known as Sonny play at Gillette Stadium. So that was an absolute blast. But still getting ready for the potential of seeing Vermont Green, and not the potential, they are getting to see Vermont Green in the U.S. Open Cup and just are already missing being up in Vermont.
Awesome, man. Vermont. It's the weather this time of year is kind of weird. Um, it went from like 90 degrees yesterday in the sun to I think it's like it was 45 degrees this morning when I left for work, and I think it's down to about 60 right now. I mean, I love this time of year because it's like shorts and a hoodie, you know. That's where it really gets you. It's like that's where fall hits, and you're like, yes, it's like apple picking, it's pies, and tonight because of this nice weather, my wife made chicken and dumplings, and like those hearty, savory meals. I just love them. They really help you pack on the weight for the winter time, right? But we do have a special guest here today. So I'm not going to just sit here and talk about food and baseball, and or making fun of Sam. But yeah, we have a special guest here today. Today we have CJ Carter. CJ is the lead digital content producer for the New England Revolution. Um, he owns his nice face,
What
Sam.
was that face, Sam?
I never heard that role before.
That is my title.
The lead man, C.J. Carter.
You know
Yeah,
it.
I do my research. I have to find these things out, Sam, so that this podcast seems at least a little bit professional. So, um, what? Yeah. All that said, he also owns his own company, and we're gonna let him get into like uh, kind of his origin story, like we always do with all of our guests. That way, you get a chance to know him, see where he came from, and how he got where he is now. CJ, how you doing, man?
Doing great, gentlemen. How are we?
It's a good day. It's a good day.
Yeah, it's a great day to be alive and to be made fun of by you two lovely gentlemen.
It's what I do best.
Indeed.
Absolutely. So, CJ, just give us a little bit of your background. What got you into soccer or sports as a young man, and growing up, and how did it lead you to where you are today?
Yeah, so soccer, I'd say probably started in high school. I was an American football kid, being the size that I am, up until I got too many concussions and needed to find a new sport to play. So high school came around. I wasn't going to play football anymore. I pivoted to soccer, and that's really where my love for the game kind of fit in into my life. Uh, was not good at all because I didn't play until high school. So I was on our thirds team for the first 2 years, and then JV my junior year, and then every senior makes varsity. So I just never played my senior year, but it was just fun to be around, and just be surrounded by people that love the sport, and that kind of fueled the addiction a little bit more. Uh, Throughout life, just kind of connected more with people who love the game, continue to try to draw me in a little bit more and more each and every year. Uh, and through gaming, found this great man from just outside of Yorkshire who sucked me into Leeds United. Hence the jersey behind me now. So our boy Spencer Powell can suck it on the loss today. Um, yeah, so from there it was Leeds and just kind of watching anything, honestly, at all, either like Italian, French, didn't matter. Like I was consuming it at any rate I could. Uh, Went to the University of Vermont, so their programs were just starting to shine through there. Had a bunch of kids from Iceland coming through the ranks, a couple of kids from Germany that were really good, really fun to watch. So working through UVM, got exposed to it there a little bit more at the highest competitive level that I had seen to that point. And then I graduated UVM in 21 and decided to stay in Vermont a little bit longer, working with UVM. And that's when the green came around. And they came a calling, and I think I just cold emailed Pat and was like, "Hey, this is my stuff. Come let me shoot." And he was like, "Sure, let's do it." So I think I hopped on a joint call with him and Matt just to talk about like my role with UVM and what I do. And they were like, "Literally, there's no rules. The league thinks we're the Cinderellas, which we are, rightfully so. And we can do no wrong. So just grip and rip whatever you feel like doing, and we'll make it work." So come that winter of whenever we had open tryouts, that was my first time shooting. That footage never saw the light of day, but I was out there in snow pants filming kids from the local area, just kicking a ball around, and it's been downhill from there.
Yeah, and I'd love to kind of hear, similarly to, how you got involved with soccer, just when was kind of the moment where you kind of got involved, whether it be, photography or videography, and maybe what kind of drew you to more of the video side of things?
The video side of things, I think, was always the path that I was going to go down. High school, I took a couple film classes and then knew that's where I wanted to end up. Was a film and television major at UVM and a sports management minor. Was in one of my sports management classes with AD Cristabello, with one of her business classes, and I was like, "Oh, first day, I'm a film and television major," and she's like, "Oh, we don't really get much of your kind around here." So she steered me towards the likes of Pete Estes and Nick Hall for Catamount TV and UVM Communications. So I started out as a broadcast intern. I never even picked up a camera. I was just literally turning audio switches on and off for the broadcast games for basketball on ESPN, and then worked my way up. So I went from audio technician to graphics to a camera, and then eventually I was directing all of our in-house broadcasting for basketball until I left.
Yeah, and I guess just kind of too, what are kind of maybe some of the early memories from, shooting the green? Obviously, like you said, kind of the Cinderellas, but what are some of the memories? Because obviously you're someone who's followed the club. You saw what it was like, up there for the final. What was it like in those early days?
I can remember filming one of the scrimmages beginning of the season, and it was kind of dreary out, kind of rainy. Not a lot of people showed up, but like the wheels were like, the best way I can describe it was Pat always used to say, "We're going to build the plane as we fly." And that is what they continue to do, but the plane is now at altitude and not at ground level. But I can remember showing up, not many people, guys like Dakota Jonke scoring a disgusting goal against a Sunday League team, just to see like what kind of players we had. So that was my first ever edit I think I made for the green. Was that clip. And from there, just watching that whole season kind of evolve, you just see gradually more and more fans kind of packing into the background of clips and into the bleachers and stuff. And that's just on steroids at this point now with where the club's at and the atmosphere and the crowd that we can draw.
I look at a lot of those photos and a lot of the video from we say the early days. It's 4 years ago. This is the fourth season, right? So it's not like we're talking, like it was the early 2000s or the 1980s even. We say the early days, but it does seem like light years ago. But I look at some of those images and some of those visuals from those days, and you do see that kind of development, and it's of the fan base. You see the thing catching on little tiny bits at a time until we had that sellout against Pioneers in our last match that propelled us into the playoff that year. So when you see those visuals, you kind of like as a fan, as somebody who's been here from day one, um, it helps to reminisce, but it also helps to understand how the club was built, and you know, through the eye and through the lens of somebody like yourself. Um, so, what did you ever see Vermont Green going from those early days where it was a in the South stand there was a bunch of crazy Canadians, right, and probably 8 to 10 of the original Green Mountain Boys, and a smattering of soccer fans, right, and maybe some families here and there, to where it is now. I mean, did you have any idea that this was going to get bigger and bigger and bigger, or did you think maybe they'll hit kind of a crescendo and kind of like level off?
I think for me, I always knew the trajectory was never going to be linear. Like it's just kind of the nature of small markets, and it's either going to catch fire or it doesn't. And it just took a little bit of time. But like you said, like by the time we sold out that game against Western Mass at the end of the first season, and they had those obnoxious bright pink jerseys that are just burned into my retinas. Um, like the development, like I think the backing from the Montreal guys was huge too, because that inserted the French culture that's still in there now, which is super dope, and the fact that you guys can carry on that tradition, uh, it's that seed that's all it really needed. It's like you said, like a bunch of Canadians and 8 Vermont locals, and all of a sudden now people have to drag their couches out from their houses on a pickup truck just to get a seat. So like the trajectory, like I said, not linear, but all the right steps were made, right? Like you've been given culture, you've been given products, you've been given community, and with those three things and talent on the field, like you couldn't go wrong. It was just a question of time.
Yeah, and you kind of touched upon it, kind of being able to reach out and those and to Pat and to Matt. I'd love to just kind of get your thoughts on how the club works with creatives. Obviously when you look at kind of the soccer landscape, when you go to, the professional ranks and even, maybe even some of the USL sides, it can seem like they're just thinking like, oh, everyone should be appreciative of being here. Whereas, some clubs, and I would say Vermont's probably one of these clubs, they very much value creatives, value their work, and try and, utilize all the creative juices that they have. Just what's it like, being able to work in that environment, and just what was it like to maybe get to know someone like Patrick or, Matt, and being able to see just how they're creative in their process?
Yeah, to have those guys take me under their wing was huge because they come from the landscape. Like that is their full time job, either freelance graphic design or being the social media guy in the United States for a big German club. Like they know ball and they know what they're doing on the social media side. So for them to give me creative reign to show up where and when I could, and try and make an impact was huge because even today I still feel like I try and figure myself out creatively and the direction that I try and take my content in. And they don't care. Like I show Pat, is this good? And he's like, dude, this is dope. Send it. And or maybe this isn't dope. Let's figure out a different way to use this. Um, Having that input's been huge for me and in my development. But um, as a whole, like that conversation with them in the beginning was like, hey, we might not be able to pay you, but any support would be appreciated. And I was like, I'm just trying to get better. So that enough for me was a good opportunity just to get out there and keep shooting. Um, and it obviously has skyrocketed, at least on their end from there. A few of my edits got picked up along the way, which I think helped. A few accounts reposted early season stuff, which was nice to see. Kind of gave me the confidence to feel like I was headed in a proper direction.
I yeah, I was gonna ask you, like, from those from some of the visuals like that we saw in the first season, we could like see what was being built, right? um the creative license you talked about, the creative license that Patrick gave you, and I think it still spills over into today, right? Given given the amount of press that Vermont's being given throughout throughout the world now, right? It's Vermont's being shown throughout the world as the kind of the benchmark of what fandom, community, social media, and media in general can do to propel a team that's legitimately like fourth tier in the United States, probably about 20th tier, in world football, right? I mean, if you're thinking in those terms, um, just the exposure that they're given, and to have someone like Patrick and Sam and Matt and Keel, like those guys who started this thing to still be giving the creative license to all of these kind of photographers and videographers and media folks, that like to give them that license to kind of just do whatever they want to do. Like does that give you any kind of pause for the future in the way that you kind of approach um, filming the green now? Does it give you any pause, or do you still kind of think you might have that license to do what you want, and they're going to use it, or you're going to post it, or how does that work for you?
Um, I'd say it's already started changing. To be honest with you, there's a couple stuff that I had produced this year, um, where I think probably year one it gets the green light, and stuff now probably because we have such a global impact in the soccer world, whether that be through Men in Blazers reposting things, just the international fan base of guys coming from overseas and their families and their friends watching. You have to think about it as a global market now, and how this club represents itself. So um, I've had to kind of be a little bit more careful in the footprint that I'm leaving when collaborating with the team and the stuff that I've produced. Um, Tried to push the envelope a little bit more, using some artificial intelligence tools that got shot down by Pat, and which I totally respect. Like, it was a creative decision for me to try and push the envelope, but it also is a club decision to understand we're trying to represent something, um, and it would probably be crossing a line to use that technology, which I respected. So that type of content will live on my website and never see the light of day. But at the same time, it's just trying about telling the best story. So it's an opportunity for me to push myself. I feel like um, the avenues I've taken might have been the easy way out recently, um, just because of the full time job with the Revs, and then trying to fit in green when I can. But I also want to crank out and edit whenever I can, get one out for each and every game. So the collaborative process is already there, and it's already kind of impacting how I think about the next one. So I'm thinking about the next edit probably a month in advance if I know I'm not going to be shooting a game for another month. Um, Other work has also inspired me, just seeing like what other people are doing, not even in the soccer world, but just creative space in general. I see something cool, I'm writing that down, trying to figure out how to do it, and try and replicate that for the green.
Yeah, and I'd love to kind of hear too, just, when you go into a match, just what's kind of how do you try and approach, whether it's, storytelling, what's kind of your approach when you're looking for that content? And I'd love to kind of hear too, who are some of those, whether it's videographers, photographers, just meet creatives that kind of inspired you, and kind of how you approach games, the type of content you're trying to gather, the ways that you gather. Would love to kind of hear the inspirations and kind of the modus operandi for, when you're out there grabbing content.
That was a big last word there, but I think I get the gist of what you're trying to say. For me, the storytelling aspect comes first and foremost. I think initially when I started, my focus was on like, was this like a really cool goal, which most of them were, because we had Aitor just knocking in bangers and Deben Wegno from half field and stuff like that, where like the content kind of just naturally fell into my lap. I sucked at editing, and stuff came out cool because we had ballers scoring insane goals. But now I've kind of matured a little bit, I think, or at least I like to think. in my creative process. So some days it'll be, oh, we have a new gear that I want to try out. So there was like one game where I had a disposable lens from a disposable camera that was 3D printed into a mount for my digital camera. So I filmed the whole game on just a disposable lens, no zoom, no focus, no nothing. So I had to kind of force myself to be in the right areas at the right time. Ended up just like driving on the way up. So that was more the story of like what Vermont meant to me. I had just moved back to Mass at that point. So like the story and emphasis on like being back in Burlington, being back with the club, probably drove that one. And then this season, just the story of excellence, really like trying to make each game its own narrative, whether that be the first game at Boston City, cranking out something as soon as we knew we were hosting for playoffs, knowing like, oh, this has to go out the next day. What can I do to help promote? While also not stepping on other people's toes that are also driving content, because they have so many bodies in there now creating stuff. And then even down to the championship, like that whirlwind of a night, I texted Pat at probably 4:45 in the morning being like, hey, are you up? Can you approve this edit? He was not up. He was asleep. But I had stayed up grinding that black and white championship edit, and then just took a whim and just said, I'll schedule the reel and see what he says after. He gave it the thumbs up, but trying to tell the story of each game as well as the story of the club at the same time has been probably the more driving force for me.
I don't know how the hell I really don't know how the hell he was sleeping, because I was up bright and early at 4:30 in the morning myself, but for different reasons. But I think Sam and I left Vivid Coffee around 1 a.m. probably. We had a long night, but I really wonder, because in those early days there were a few photographers. There's maybe yourself and Brent, right, doing video stuff, right? Brent from Town Bench. What kind of like informs your style with the green? Like, the visuals that you guys put out. Is it more of like a collaborative effort, or is it more like you guys are competing with each other? Because stylistically, like Vermont green, when content is put out through the green, whether it's Spence or like in the early days Tristan, right, or like Brent, with the video content. Do you guys have like? Is there anything stylistically? Dolan has his own style too, right? So like stylistically, like, is there something that you guys try and stick to together? For the visuals you create for the green, or is it something that you guys are constantly competing with each other to kind of like one up each other? Because like if you don't have that competition, it can just get stale, right?
I wouldn't say competition, but I would say we probably could work together more in that sense. Like since the beginning, like we're all here to support the team. We're all here to shoot the team. I'm not going to go walk in front of Brent's shot to go like get this other thing. There have been a couple of times where I've gotten Spencer's butt in 4K because it's about him. And there's the Julian celebration on the chair. I don't use my audio from the clip because the audio is just be Spencer, get out of the way, Spencer. And he turns around, sees me, and he moves. But from the beginning, I think we've all just kind of stuck to our guns. Which I think helps because it diversifies the portfolio of work you see on that timeline, and the portfolio the club has to use to promote itself. So like you look at Spencer, staying in that black and white range is really like his niche, and Brent being able to come in, shoot a lot of the fans, a lot of the parking lot, being able to represent you guys, which is not something I've had the chance to do very often, mostly because I'm getting out of the car like 30 minutes before kickoff and have to build my rig out. But being able to represent like you guys in that aspect, tell the story of the whole game, whether there's special guests speaking at halftime, he makes sure to include that as well. The two of them, I think, work a lot more closely with the club from a media side than I have recently, just because of how remote I am now. So, like marketing shoots, jersey launches, stuff like that, like those two have been at the forefront. Where me being stuck in Massachusetts, I'm kind of reserved to games. So I give them the respect to be like, you guys are here the 24/7, 365. I just kind of come in once the season starts. So in that aspect, I just try and stick to games and do as much focus and emphasis on telling those stories as possible. And respecting their styles too. Like Brent's storytelling ability is phenomenal, and we both will always ping ideas off each other. Oh, you used that technique. What'd you do there? What was that style? What'd you do? Was that in camera? Was that in the editing suite? So we always ping ideas off each other and then throw tutorials each other's way. And then that kind of comes back to that competition aspect. Like we're both here to make each other better in that regard, and how to see the field and how to shoot things differently. So not competition, but definitely iron sharpens iron in that regard.
Yeah, and I'd love to kind of, hear from you, what's probably, you don't have to stick it to one if there's multiple that you like, but what's that one edit that you'll probably always go back to, or that one moment that you'll always forget that you were able to capture that moment? What's that one that stands out in the portfolio?
Damn.
You can do multiple.
This was getting asked too, and I completely, now I'm gonna have to get the phone out because it's
like, oh no.
I mean, the championship edit I'm happy with. For the quality, I'm the type of person that really likes to take my time, mostly just because I have to travel immediately after a game. But to be able to stay in Heinsberg and grind that one out, I'm really proud of. I'm also dyslexic and prone to making mistakes, so I normally need an extra day or two to come back and look at it and realize where things could be tightened up. But just for how that came out, I'm pretty proud of that one, and the turnaround time of being done at 4:00 in the morning or whenever I was done. So yeah, that edit's probably up there. I'm trying to think what else. Yeah, that might be it. That edit, and then I think maybe the disposable lens one, just because I focus so much more on the community aspect of it and having it be a little bit more about home and coming back, I think is also probably up there. I think one of my buddies tried to tag Vermont Tourism on that one, get them involved. They didn't respond, unfortunately. Their loss. I think they know about us now, so that's good.
So, yeah, we're going to get away from Vermont Green. I know that people still probably want to hear you talk about the green, but moving from the green, talk to us a little bit about, how you got hooked up with the Revolution, and how that relationship there, and that job there has developed and evolved, over time for you.
So I actually owe the green and the green community a big thanks to getting my foot in the door with the Revs. Both Pat and Spencer had connections. I'd like to think they got my stuff to the top of the pile, and at least they gave me a look, and my beautiful looks and charming personality finished the job on closing that deal. Yeah, so I started there March of 23. I remember getting off the flight back from March Madness with UVM men's basketball and be like, oh shit, we got to pack and we got to get back south, because I had a job waiting for me there. So they were already mid-season at that point. A good ways in. My first game, I think, was against Montreal, CF Montreal at home. And from there, it's been truly swimming in the deep end without a life jacket on, in terms of like access to gear, the stage that you're on, the amount of like professionalism and just like professional habits that you have to have as a creator. There's set deadlines, there's requirements, there's branding, there's sponsorship. Like with the green, it's like, do whatever you want, dude. Like, we don't care. Have a beer on the field. Whereas with the Revs, we got to be a little bit more button up, deadlines to hit. My position was created when Apple TV came in to partner with the league. And with that came a whole bunch of other required content that we help produce for them, throw it up on their website for their streaming. But the job's helped me immensely in terms of being creative and trying to push for new ideas, because there's once a week stuff's always going to be due, and win or lose, you have to push something out. So it's like, how do we spin this into watchable content, or riding with hot results, and what's the best that we can make this when we are kicking butt in Leagues Cup, or just coming off like a long road trip. What's cool things that we can do with that? It's also helped me with the green too, because the Revs will now let me use their gear to shoot Vermont Green games. So before, I was using my old stuff that I bought with graduation money with UVM, but it was an older camera that was also doubled as a streaming camera. So not the super high quality. If you look back at my old stuff, not a lot of color, pretty flat images, little chunky looking, because it wasn't 4K, it was all 1080p. But now with the Revs, I'm whipping out boomstick lenses and cinema cameras and gimbals, and it's nice to have nice toys to make your content look way better.
And what's it been like for you, kind of, obviously when you're with the Revs, you kind of have that opportunity to, attend some road games on occasion. How's it kind of helped you grow, as a videographer, as, someone grabbing content to go into environments where you might not be familiar? You head up to a Montreal, you head up to maybe, new stadiums, and, whether it's San Diego, LA's, or into the Midwest with Cincinnati and Columbus. How's it kind of helped you grow as a videographer going into these new environments and finding, oh, this is where I need to be, or, oh, this is how I can adjust to this condition or lighting or what have you?
Yeah, I mean, I've been lucky enough. I think I've seen every stadium in the Eastern Conference at this point. Bopped around a few conference opponents in the West there. Just being able to embrace soccer culture in the United States as someone who came into it so late, and then even from that standpoint, like, never really embraced MLS until I got the job with the Revs. Like, I was a snobby Premier League, not snobby because Leeds, but we were coming up on the Champo there, so having to adjust the American culture with Vermont Green, and thinking like, oh, this is sick. We just sold out like 2,000 seats, and then getting the harsh reality of like, that's a drop in the bucket compared to what Major League Soccer culture is. Just adjusting to the environment alone was pretty big. You're running out there with a gimbal, and you're on Yankee Stadium grass, and you can't trip, or otherwise some security guard's gonna probably bring you out back and shoot you for damaging the baseball field. So little stuff like that, being able to embrace those cultures, getting heckled by people, like, I love that kind of stuff. Just that banter of like, I'm wearing opposing team colors, so I'm public enemy number one if I'm filming behind the goal. I've got a good story for that one if we want me to dive into that. But
well, you can't tease us there.
Yeah, no, it was SC Cincinnati on the road. This was my first time there because I missed that road trip my first year. So this was 24. Filming behind the goal, and some guy just sees a Revs logo on my shorts and rips into me pretty good. And I've had to learn to be a little bit more professional when it comes to talking at fans. In college, I was a big fan of getting after people, but we're professionals now, so we can't do that. So I stayed quiet. I was kind of smiling at the stuff he was coming up with, and our boy Giacomo Vrioni comes up with an absolute banger, and I whip around, and I find the guy who was chirping me the whole first 30 minutes. I zoom in right on, fuck yeah. So it's like, that's the clip, right? That's the dream of someone just absolutely going ballistic on you because they were talking mad shit, and now we're here. So that kind of culture is just awesome. Like, seeing that atmosphere, and like, for a relatively new team as well in the league, is pretty dope. getting to see teams that do pyrotechnics is also pretty sick. Those are probably some of the coolest slow-mo shots that we have, is going to places like Nashville, going to places like Cincinnati, knowing like, oh, they're going to light off some fireworks. This is going to be pretty sick. So like placing yourself there, knowing like, oh, we're going to do like this shot here. Our musket shots before pregame or after goals at Gillette Stadium is also something pretty cool. We had a camera called an Ember, which is super high frame rate, slow motion cinema camera that we brought in. So to be able to see that kind of stuff of like watching the flint strike and having the gunpowder explode, and then watching like you can literally see the blank kind of come out. Just being able to push the limits in terms of that, because like, well, we do have pyrotechnics with the green. We don't necessarily get musket shots or fireworks or anything like that. So just being able to see the grander scale, people with money is pretty fun.
You know, you do get to see the pyrotechnics that we have in at Virtue Field. Are generally like out of the back of somebody's emergency road kit, or a smuggled in smoke bomb here and there.
Got to take the New Hampshire receipt, rip it up. Someone had to make the trip down.
Not necessarily. We have a delivery service. Let's just put it.
Oh, it's awfully convenient.
Yeah.
Just DoorDash and flares.
Yeah.
But I think that like when we're talking about the professional game versus let's call it like what it is, the amateur game, when video is now being shot for a lot of these amateur clubs and even the USL one type clubs are really coming up and starting to catch up to some of the content that's being put out by these professional clubs, because you have a younger generation of videographers and photographers that are coming up, that are comfortable with technology and the speed at which it moves, editing and that kind of stuff, editing suites and that kind of stuff. Like that's why I don't put out a ton of content for United in Green. It's because I'm just not. I'm an old man and I'm not comfortable. And every time I get into like doing any kind of editing, it's like that meme that you see of The Simpsons, old man yells at cloud.
Yeah.
That's kind of me, but when you see these younger photographers who are trying to make it, these younger videographers who are trying to make it, and they're latching on to these semi-pro minor league teams, even some of these like youth clubs and stuff that they're photographing, the technology is there. It's just, do they have the money to get into that technology versus what the bigger clubs have? But like it's getting very, very close. And I think that like, and I've always said this about Vermont, is that I feel like from what you did, in those early years, and how the content was put out and created for the Green, it's being copied a lot now by a lot of these smaller market USL teams, especially up in the upper Northeast. And even through like the Midwest, you're seeing a lot of stylistically similar looking content that's coming out. So I applaud you. First of all, I applaud you for what you did in those early days. But do you have a feeling that like at some point that's going to catch up to what we see in the higher professional ranks, as far as like the technology and the content that's being put out? Because you can only go so far, with so much money. These guys are going to constantly keep one-upping each other and using the technology to their advantage as it develops, because they're comfortable using it.
I mean, I'd make the argument that it's almost already there. if not there. Like you see, I think everyone else has kind of recognized the value in lower leagues, in terms of the stories that they have and are able to be told. You look at Hearts of Pine over in Portland there. Nesson came in and did a doc on them in their inaugural season. You look at our own documentary Up the Green from our first season. I think people see the value of it. Sorry, there's a motorcycle going down the street right now.
Edit that out. I know how to do that.
And I just found out apparently I've been using the wrong microphone this whole time, so I can't switch it now. We're committed. Like people, I think have seen the value and opportunity that also comes with it. So like, you get the Vermont Greens of the world where they need exposure. They need people to come in, and then you have young up and coming creators who might not have the best gear, but have the drive. I think there's a hole in that guy's muffler. Holy shit! You guys hear that? That's crazy. No, just to be able to have the opportunity to come in and grow like I did. I think that's a very common, like very parallel story across USL 2, USL 1. You see kids not even out of high school yet who have thrown summer job money into buying a camera rig. Nothing fancy, just a body and a lens, and they're going out there and pushing themselves and coming up with better stuff than me, to be quite frankly. Like the edits that they've been able to push, photos that they've been able to put out, looking at Hearts of Pine, looking at Ballard, and that's stuff that they put out. Teams like Motown, the Lions, Bridges, and Rough Riders of the world. Like the market is there, and it's kind of perfect because it's like you're developing players to go on or to hopefully go on and keep playing. It makes perfect sense to develop everyone. Like everyone is working together to get better. Whether you're an intern, working the gate, slap that on the resume. It's going to help you get better. If you're working a camera, slap that on the resume. It's going to help you get better. If you're doing PA announcements and coming up with crazy intros for players as you're reading off a starting lineup, I think that might just be us, but put it on a resume because it's making you better. It's a development league for a reason, or development leagues for a reason. There's no reason why other people shouldn't be growing besides the players.
Yeah, and you've kind of talked about being someone who knows Vermont, and I'd love to just kind of get your thoughts on what it's been like, from your perspective, to see the community kind of come together around this team, continue to see it kind of have that growth. And I mean, looking ahead to the future, I mean, there's talks of stadiums, there's talks about building infrastructure, there's been the talks of the women's team. I guess, what's it like to see that club that you were able to capture from the beginning grow to where it is at now and where it could potentially be?
I mean, sky's the limit, right? Like, we never thought when we were playing a rainy Tuesday night against a pickup team in town that we would sell out, and then we sold out. And then we were like, oh, that was a one-time thing. That'll never happen again. And then we sold out for an entire season. And it's like, oh, like you sold out for an entire season. Like, that's really it. And then you're like, no, the demand is still there. Now people are bringing ladders to come watch over a fence because you ran out of seating. What's next from there? And it's like you continue to run into issues that are the best problems in the world to have. And you never find out that they were issues until you keep hitting ceilings, and they just keep going and keep going and keep going. So, I mean, I'd be all for having a stadium. I think the partnership with UVM has been great, just to have the infrastructure of the catering service and whatnot, have their facilities, locker rooms and whatnot. As a club still in its infancy, that's crucial to have a partnership like that. Having toured USL 2 at least a little bit with them on the road and kind of seeing the facilities that other teams have had to use, we're pampered beyond belief. So already a good starting point, but the question is, where do we go from here? As long as the fans want to keep showing up, I don't see any reason why not to expand a little bit, put in a little bit more infrastructure and invest back into the people that have been coming out every Wednesday and Friday and Saturday night and baking in the sun as it sets over the lake for at least a little bit. I'd love that. And to see the women's team too, like instant sellouts for both of those games, talented players coming through such a high valued market, but also is just not linear at all, completely skyrocketing in terms of attendance and viewership and whatnot in the United States. I think you see it just with the desire of women that were trying to get on that team and couldn't. Just like, sorry, like we ran, like we have too many players at this point. Like you guys aren't going to play. I think Coach Mewis did a good job of just rotating players between the two games that they had this season anyway. So that platform alone, great reaching off point. I think great competition. I think they might have to reach a little bit further in terms of market when competing, whether they want to venture over into Canada or escape New England a little bit more to compete. But regardless, like I said, sky's the limit, and I'm here for the entire ride.
CJ, I really want to thank you for coming on. We are coming up on time here. I just want to do a little housekeeping before we get to our final thoughts here. We are the United in Green podcast. You can find us on all your favorite podcast platforms. Even Apple, I'm told now these days, they actually allowed us on. I had to get rid of them and then re-up on the Apple podcast. So hopefully we're being shown on there. If not, please send us a DM on our Instagram or our Blue Sky, and we'll get you that RSS just so you can download. Otherwise, you can find us on any other podcast platform you can think of. You can find us also supported by the Blazing Musket. Blazing Musket is a New England soccer website. It covers everybody from the New England Revolution to our very own USL to Vermont Green, and most everywhere in between, Rhode Island SC, Portland Hearts of Pine, and you have really great content coming out of there. You have guys like Seth Maycomer, you have guys like Sam Minton dropping content, and you get a lot of great visuals as well. Our friend Dolan is a lovely photographer. He does a lot of great work.
I wouldn't go that far.
Now I'm putting you on the spot. Who's your favorite content creator for Vermont Green besides yourself?
Spencer, it's not even close. Mostly because we go out for Al's French fries after games.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
He can
and
be
a plug
Brad
for Al's French fries.
Mm-hmm.
But Blazing Musket, if you can go, they have a lot of great content. Go on, and if you can afford it, please subscribe to their paid tier. If not, just subscribe to their free tier. There's content either way. You're gonna get myself. If you want, once a month on the Blazing Musket podcast and the New England Soccer Roundtable. Even though our season has ended, I'm going to keep running my mouth on that podcast as long as they'll let me. But outside of that, again, you guys can find us on all your favorite podcast platforms. You can find us on YouTube. We do these live streams. This is all streaming live, so you can find us there. And I just wanted to make sure that everybody continue to support independent soccer journalists. Continue to support your lower league, lower tier teams if they're in your community. Support them if you can. And soccer brings everybody together. I didn't realize this until I was in my 40s. So, if you're listening right now, please just jump on. You're gonna get great content from us and all these other folks. So I'm gonna let CJ plug himself here, give us some final thoughts, and tell us what you're doing. Tell us what you're up to when you're not doing Rev stuff.
Yeah, so you guys can find me at Green Mountain Media. That's MTN Media on Instagram. Some rat bastard took the full thing, so I had to abbreviate. That's where you can find all my content that won't be coming, because everything will be going to the Revs channels from here on out until UVM's sports get going here. I just shot their game at Merrimack for the women's team the other day, but Yeah, my season's going to be Revs for as long as we want to keep fighting, and then I'll progressively migrate over to shooting UVM sports when they want to travel to Massachusetts. Um, Mostly their soccer teams. I'll get their field hockey at a couple points this season, and then we'll migrate into basketball and hockey. So that's going to be life until next summer.
Excellent. Well, we really appreciate you being here. I'm going to give Sam a little bit of time to sign off here and say his goodbyes until next week.
Nah, really appreciate you coming on, CJ. Again, definitely, if you aren't following this guy, follow him. He is, one of the best content creators, videographers out there in New England. Makes dope edits. Also is a dope guy, even though he makes fun of me. But one of my favorite camera people to talk to. Don't tell Durkee that. But really, appreciate you coming on. For everyone else, gonna have some USL2 content coming out. I am actually interviewing in an APSL club called Scrub Nation FC tomorrow.
What a name. Holy.
Buddy, wait till you see the logo. Look it up right now.
I can't wait.
So gonna interview them about them. I was tipped off to them, so can't wait to chat with them. Gonna have a ton of lower league content, and just stay tuned. As well as CJ, I am covering the Revs and all the loveliness that is going on there. But can't wait to continue talking about Vermont Green. I know Mike still has some plans for some great streams, and hey, maybe we'll just get some nice news in the off season. But hope everyone is doing well. Stay safe, as Mike would say. Protect your mental health, and we love you all.
Absolutely, guys. And make sure you subscribe and go to that little cog icon in your podcast platform. Hit that auto download so you never miss an episode of this. We have a few more coming at you until we get into the off season. We're gonna have a couple of special guests. The gaffer has said he's coming on. He's coming back on. We just got to find the time in between practices. We got to talk to a couple of our champions as well that we're gonna have on. So stay tuned, and we'll be coming at you in the next couple of weeks. I know Monday is a weird day for us beyond, but look, man, we got to do what we got to do and take the advantage when we can. So, again, like Sam said, go out there, tread lightly, be safe, protect your mental health, and in the end, just remember, up the green.
Up the green.
Up the green, boys.